Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed, lab-proven to work fast, and proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.
We're in Way Media.
Out with a gangster twist. If you smoke like I smoke, then you like every day. And if your ass is a buster, 213 will regulate.
Welcome back, Midnight Viewers, to Midnight Viewing. And if Warren G is on the soundtrack, then we're talking about the Regulators. And that can mean only one thing. We're talking about Young Guns tonight. Joining me as a permanent guest here. Look, we had such a good time talking about the movie Crossroads, and that was just a midnight viewing one-off thing. But as it turns out, having looked through the film credits of the writer of that particular film, Mr. John Fusco, turns out we like pretty much all of his films. And he's as unsung as a screenwriter gets. So turns out we're just going to blaze on through his fucking filmography. Crossroads was his first. So next up is Young Guns. Joining me to do it, we did Crossroads together. We're going to be doing all of these. Host of Noise Junkies, host of Night Mr. Walters, a taxi podcast, Mr. HP.
I'm annoyed at you, Father Malone. I got to say, you took my Nate Dogg joke. I was all ready. I thought, oh, this is going to be great to kick it off. And once again, you're one step ahead of me. What can I say?
Hey, man, we're going to come out of that music. That's what's happening there.
No, excited. The Crossroads was fun, and this is going to be a blast.
Indeed. So, Young Guns, this was released on August 12th, 1988, directed by Christopher Kane, written by John Fusco, starring Emilio Estevez, Kiefer Sutherland, Lou Diamond Phillips, Charlie Sheen, Dermot Mulroney, Casey Siemaszko, Terry O'Quinn, Jack Palance, and Terrence Stamp, with cinematography by Dean Semler.
Six reasons why the West was wild.
No one's fool enough to go after Murphy's people.
Emilio Estevez.
I'm in.
Deputize them. Kiefer Sutherland.
You must like trouble.
Trouble? You think I look like trouble? I'm a poet. McSween, those are just boys. Ain't one of them over 21. Murphy's men will shred them in half within a day.
Casey Siemaszko.
I'm a pugilist.
You son of a...
Court adjourned.
Dermot Mulroney.
He ain't all there, is he?
Lou Diamond Phillips.
My vision told me we're headed for blood.
Charlie Sheen.
We got warrants for the law!
You were supposed to serve 11 warrants and expose the ring. Instead, you went out and you went on the warpath. The governor's revoked your deputization powers. You're now wanted by the legitimate law as well as those outside the law. You're being hunted by troops.
I like these odds.
Young Guns.
This is the story of Billy the Kid and the Lincoln County War. Now, this is one of dozens upon dozens of films about Billy the Kid, but one of the only few to touch on the Lincoln County War. Ordinarily, when they're telling Billy the Kid's story, it's about the kid's gang being hunted by Pat Garrett. And the events of the Lincoln County War always loom large because that's what set his eventual fall from grace in motion, but it's very rarely presented. The only film that I can think of that really did it prior to this was Chisholm in 1971 with John Wayne, and that was a boring slog. This is the only one that kind of does it and does it right. But we'll get into the nuts and bolts of it. It's a wildly historically accurate film for what is essentially a potboiler shoot 'em up. HP, when did you first see Young Guns? What was your experience with it then, now?
So I did not see Young Guns, the first one, in the theater. I did see the second one, but this one, it must have been on cable around that time. I guess we were in high school. So it's probably, what did you say? This was 88, 87?
1988, August of 1988.
1988. So I probably saw it around then. I confess at the time, the big critical knock against this, and I know we'll probably get into this a little more, was this was still kind of post Brat Pack, I guess. I think this was unfairly tagged as a Brat Pack Western. So that probably turned me off a little bit at the time. I wasn't necessarily a huge Western fan in high school, but I was surprised, as you said, to find out after the fact that this was considered one of the more historically accurate depictions of this time period and these events. So that was kind of cool.
What's your opinion of it now?
Mixed opinion, Father Malone. If I'm being totally honest, and
as you should be,
I should be. I prefer Young Guns 2 because, well, we're going to get into all these reasons. I don't want to. This is a too long, didn't read kind of a thing, but I think I have issues with the direction of this movie, which, again, we'll talk about, but in rewatching it, I probably haven't seen it in at least 10 years. The performances, actually, I was impressed. They were better than I remember them being. So that was a big plus. And I forgot that Terry O'Quinn was in it. I forgot that Terrence Stamp is John Tunstall, and he is always a welcome sight. So it was a bit of a mixed bag, but I'm sure we'll get into it.
In 1988, I, like you, had tired of the Brat Pack, both as a concept that the media was shoving down our throats and by the output of the members of the Brat Pack, except Mr. Emilio Estevez. I've never had any truck with Mr. Emilio Estevez. Look, man, he's in Repo Man. That's where I first saw him. And forever and always, he's going to be the fucking coolest no matter what he does, because he was in Repo Man. And he is a really good actor. And I thought he was unfairly painted with the brush of these are young kids who just want to be famous for famous sake. None of them are interested in the craft. I thought that was bullshit when it came to Estevez. And I'd liked everything he'd done. Outsiders, fucking Soda Pop Curtis, for fuck's sake, with the Mickey Mouse shirt and the fucking switchblade. Are you kidding me?
I love him in that.
Yeah. So although I felt like the Brat Pack themselves were annoying, I remember seeing this trailer for this film, which, if you've watched the credit sequence for the film, it's the sort of solarized, they're coming up over the ridge and then they're all shooting their guns and stuff, right? Okay. Now imagine that without the solarization, without any of the terrible music. and it's these masked figures coming up over the thing. And then each of them pulls their masks down, and it's like all of the fucking best of the youngest actors going right now. And then they're firing their guns and shit. I could not be more excited. I was a huge Western fan. I was already a big fan of Billy the Kid. I was always more of a Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday guy, but I still loved the Billy the Kid mythos. And here was like a version for us. There was a whole lot of sort of in the 1980s. I remember thinking the same thing about Twilight Zone 85 when it came out. Like, wow, they're really pitching it toward us. It is a reimagining of like the Twilight Zone, but in a modern context. And now here's an attempt at a Western, and we're going to get it in a modern context with modern actors. So I was very excited to see it. And then, of course, as you said, there are problems with this movie. The main one being the direction. I can't think of a better example than going from that trailer, which was nothing but pure excitement, to the credit sequence of this film, this solarized version where the fucking music is as bad as the direction of this movie is, as historically inaccurate as the movie can be in some places, the most unforgivable thing going on in this movie is the fucking music, which sounds like, I don't know, like 90210 kind of 21 Jump Street level, like hey, look, it's Billy the Kid.
That's another big tick for Young Guns 2, because by Young Guns 2, you have Alan Silvestri doing the soundtrack. There's just so much more. I mean, I know we're here to talk about Young Guns, but that's one thing, that's one big knock against this. Let me ask you a quick question, because you said Unforgivable. When did Unforgiven come out in relation to this?
1992, 93.
Okay, so it was quite a few years after this. I didn't know if there was any friction between those two movies, but I guess they came out so far away from each other that there was no impact whatsoever. But yeah, the music is very 80s. It's very 90210. It makes everything, I think, feel a little bit smaller to me, because when you have a real orchestral score or something that's real Western sounding, it really lifts it, like any good music should in a movie. And this just kind of lets it down, in my opinion. It's not as wall to wall as that. In fact, there's less music in the picture than I remembered, but when it's there, it calls attention to itself in a very negative way.
Yeah, that was what I was taking away from it too. Like I appreciated the moments without any music or source music, because it didn't have the reek of the 20th century. Not just the reek of the 20th century, just not the reek of anachronism, but the reek of 1988. Here I am. Aren't I doing a clever job here at my job writing for movies? That's what it feels like.
Yeah. Even Blaze of Glory, as cheesy as it might be, it fit, and it was so exciting. It was such a great teaser for Young Guns 2. That video ran on MTV, and it was great. This, to me, it falls flat in a lot of different ways, but to sort of circle back, I 100% agree with you that Emilio Estevez is really good in this. There's something there's something unhinged about his performance that I think is just perfect for the character, and the way that everybody reacts to him, the gang in this and in Young Guns 2. He's kind of more of a nuisance at times, and more of like, they really don't like him. I mean, they're a gang and they support each other, but at the end of the day, he's the one putting them in danger more often than not. And Estevez plays that beautifully. I love his performance.
I don't know if this is the most historically accurate portrayal of Billy the Kid, but it is my favorite portrayal of Billy the Kid for those reasons. He seems really not all there. The character of Dirty Steve, played by Dermot Mulroney, has this running joke of like, he's not all there. He's actually not all there. He's a troubling character. And the fact that he's as charming as he is while doing those things is because of Emilio Estevez. I think if you had a lesser actor there, a grubbier version, like if Dermot Mulroney, let's say, had been playing Billy the Kid dressed as he was as Dirty Steve, he would be unbearable as a character.
Yeah, make no mistake, Billy the Kid is the one who sets the plot in motion, really. He's the one who starts all the trouble to begin with. They've been deputized. Well, do we want to get into the story?
Okay, look, here's the thing. The Lincoln County War, such as it is, in Lincoln County in New Mexico, there had been for at least a generation a group of ranchers, farmers, Irish, the Murphys, and what was the other fucking, hold on, keep forgetting. Lincoln County War, the Regulators, baby. Who cares? William Brady. Oh, I know, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so basically it was the Murphy conglomerate, like they had herds of cattle and they had a store. So not only were they raising cattle and raising money that way, but they were selling goods to all of the people. And then an English fella shows up named Tunstall, and he's backed by a local other Irishman named Alex McSween. And they propose that they're going to have their own heads of cattle and they're going to have their own store. And half the surrounding ranchers and folk side with the Irish, half side with the English. The ones that side with the English include young William Bonney, who is Billy the Kid, also Josiah Doc Scurlock, Jose Chavez. These are all real people, like Vic Charlie Beaudry, also Dirty Steve. He's one of them. Interestingly, John Tunstall, the Englishman, was 24 years old.
I learned that after the fact, but Terrence Stamp must be 50 if he's a day.
Exactly. I believe he's 49, 50 years old. So yeah, but that's okay, because what ends up happening is here, Fusco's script, I think, is incredibly clever in that it reduces everything down to sort of signs and signifiers almost. Like each of these guys were like little independent outfits that were behind each other. And instead he turns them all into a group of street urchins being raised by the Fagin, the J.T. Tunstall or J.H. Tunstall.
Yeah. And sorry, go ahead.
So William Bonney's one is just a kid on the run. He gets taken in by this group of ne'er-do-wells who are basically the enforcers around Tunstall's ranch. Anytime there's trouble, these guys take care of it for him. And basically they look at, it's the two biggest kids on the block. Eventually they're going to come to blows, but unfortunately they bring the law into it. So the Murphy people try to serve a warrant, but it is just really an assassination, which in turn gets the Regulators all deputized as a posse to go serve a warrant themselves. But it probably doesn't go down exactly the way it goes down here. But like I said, the script is combining and compacting events in the movie. But in the movie, what happens is Billy just starts fucking shooting people.
Yeah, they've been deputized. It's all going to be above board. They're going to seek out, because Murphy has everybody in his back pocket. He has the law, and they've been deputized to find all the men responsible for this killing of John Tunstall. And instead of doing this, serving the warrants and bringing them into jail, the loose cannon Billy just kills everybody. And he doesn't stop. Like they're deputies for a while, and it becomes a rampage essentially, and then it escalates to the point where the U.S. Army has taken an interest in their exploits, and everybody is after him. Bounty hunters are after the gang, Murphy's men are after the gang, the Army, and that's essentially the movie. It's just all of these escalating gunfights and people coming after the Regulators until essentially they have no choice. They're holed up in a house and they have no choice but to basically have their last stand. But let me ask you a question, Father Malone. What do you make of, we talked about Terrence Stamp playing John Tunstall. What do you make of Terrence Stamp's performance? I'm really curious.
I feel like this is a loaded question on your part, but I love his performance here. It's not my favorite performance of his, because there's so many great performances throughout a fucking amazing career, but it's certainly, for me, my first experience with, I'm sure like you, with Terrence Stamp was General Zod. So he was the most evil person in the world. My second introduction to Terrence Stamp was this film, where he was the most fatherly. So I love his performance here.
Sure. And I'm not presenting it as a loaded question, because I strike that. I adore Terrence Stamp. Like you, General Zod was my first exposure. I'm not ashamed to say that I was scared of him as a child, because he was a really scary dude in that movie. I mean, I never watched any of the old English movies that he did. Like, I didn't have any real exposure to him, and this was probably the second time I saw him. He's great, but what I couldn't help thinking is there's something otherworldly about his performance in this, something that I couldn't quite put my finger on. He almost seems above everything and anyone else in the picture. There's something kind of, I don't know, what's the word? Just sort of aloof. Not aloof. That's
Saintly.
not even the right word. Huh?
Saintly?
Not saintly. Just something
Untouchable.
Yeah, just sort of ethereal, I guess.
He does seem to just sort
way.
of, he just does seem to float from scene to scene, dispensing sage advice and calming everybody down. Even when there's a moment of violence, he's just very calm, and then lets Casey Siemaszko step in, do what he does, and then continue to calm everybody back down.
Yeah, this is not to say that it's a bad performance. I think it's fantastic. But my memory of it was a little different. Watching it now, I was like, oh, that's interesting. He made a lot of interesting choices that I thought suits him. That's who he is. But yeah, he's very paternal. He's great as John Tunstall, don't get me wrong. But I just found his performance a little bit arm's length, I guess, for lack of a better phrase.
I could see that. The other problem with this movie, I just want to get the problems with the movie out of the way, because there's so much that I do like about this film, and I don't want to dwell on the negative. But look, if Christopher Kane put this cast together, bravo. Okay? But he should not have directed this movie. Hiring Anthony Marinelli to do the score alone should have disqualified him as a director of this film. Now, I know he had previously worked with Estevez on That Was Then, This Is Now. He directed that S.E. Hinton adaptation that I believe Emilio Estevez wrote. So I can see them wanting to work together again, but he's out of his mind if he thinks this guy was right for a Western. We're going to keep mentioning Young Guns 2 in its superiority in every way, but Jeff Murphy is a fucking awesome action director, and should have, if they had him here for this one, holy shit. We would be talking about this as one of the greatest Billy the Kid movies.
The fact is that Emilio Estevez himself was not entirely happy with Young Guns. He deliberately set out with John Fusco to make a better movie with Young Guns 2. And it's hard to argue that it's not better in almost every single way to this.
Oh my God. Yeah. If that was their goal, they succeeded across the board. It's night and day. Yeah, again, I'm not saying that this is a bad movie. I like this movie. It's just that there are fucking fundamental problems that could have been avoided very easily.
Totally. And like you, I think it all begins and ends with the direction. Just seems it lacks anything resembling like dynamics. It all seems rather flat, and dour isn't the word, but it's not exciting. A lot of it isn't. The excitement is on the page, but it's not reflected in how the movie is photographed, how it all is depicted. I mean, I love the story. I think the direction leaves a lot to be desired. It just seems to kind of just sit there. The action isn't all that interesting to me. It's not really shot. The gunfights aren't shot that interestingly to me. It's sometimes hard to know exactly what's happening.
Some of the character scenes work despite the rest of the direction in the movie. I think like some of the sequences are fun, like the peyote sequence I thought is photographed really well. And some of the interactions between Doc and the young lady he's wooing, like all that stuff. In fact, I was about to praise the direction, but I'm not going to praise the direction because it turns out it's another script thing. And I only noticed it really this time around about Doc Scurlock in this movie. But the moment where they allow him to react after getting blood splattered on his face after Billy kills one of their own in front of him, that scene is well directed.
I love Kiefer Sutherland in this. He, next to Emilio Estevez, he's probably my favorite of the Regulators. I just think because I think the character is allowed to be interesting. Not to say that Dirty Steve and Charlie don't have their own moments, and obviously Chavez. But I just think Kiefer Sutherland gives a very grounded performance. He's allowed to react a lot. You see Billy's misdeeds through Doc's eyes. And I think that's, in a sense, it's almost like an audience proxy. Like that scene you talked about, that's one of my favorite moments in the whole movie, where Billy shoots McCluskey in the head because he believes that he's a spy for the Murphy gang. And it's such a great reaction because there's a horror to Sutherland's reaction, but he still does what has to be done. He still keeps his eyes on all the other goings on, but it really is a horrifying moment for him. And I love that. It's really effective. But I guess I can see your point. Is it a directorial choice to show the blood and have him react? I don't know. I give the credit to Kiefer Sutherland. How about that?
Look, it's in the script and it's in the performance, but the fact that he allows him the room afterwards to continue to react, like it could have just been like, oh, that's a horrible thing. One of the things the direction does at least right is this movie, as much as it is about the Lincoln County War and Billy the Kid and all of this other machinations and playing with the American myth of the cowboy, it's the story of Josiah Scurlock and what the Lincoln County War does to him. Because when we first meet him in the opening scene, he is the sweetest character on planet Earth. He is just golden lightness. And by the end of this movie, he is hardened as fuck. In fact, I know we're going to talk about Young Guns 2 when we get to it, but watching this movie now, the Doc we get at the beginning of that movie and the way he's acting towards Billy makes so much sense to me, because this movie is as much Doc Scurlock's fall from grace or fall from innocence as much as anything else.
Yeah, I agree. Was McCluskey a real person on the Regulators, Father Malone? Do you know that? Or is it created for this movie? The traitor.
Frank McCluskey was a regulator, was a traitor, or was perceived to be a traitor. But I think that's pretty much all that is known about him. Each of the regulators presented were real people. There were originally 11 regulators. I believe we get 6 here. But in each of their names they match up. Like, what's interesting is those in real life, those guys were interesting on their own. Like Billy the Kid ends up getting a lot of credit for all of their exploits. And this would be true. Like every gunfight in the Lincoln County War in the newspapers gets attributed to Billy the Kid. They play that off in the movie. Like they have the wrong photo and it's like, it's wrong, it's right all the time. But you'll notice he keeps getting the credit for everything. That would eventually be a problem for him because it's hard to get amnesty when you've never disputed that you shot like 29 men.
Yeah. The reason I ask that is because I think one of the great things about that scene is there's this doubt as to whether McCluskey is actually a spy or not, because what happens is they've got another bunch of Murphy's men at gunpoint and they're debating whether to kill them or bring them into jail, to justice. And McCluskey's the one who says, no, I don't think we should go here. I think Murphy's going to be looking for us. We should do this. And Billy is watching him, and Billy says, I saw what you did. And it's almost like a Reservoir Dogs kind of moment where all of a sudden you don't know who's telling the truth, or even the regulators themselves aren't sure if Billy's right about this. So I think that's actually another great moment, is because they do in the performance, they do make it seem like the guy is actually a traitor, but in actual fact, like the way the scene goes, he very well may not have been a traitor, and this might have just been another example of Billy going a little crazy and killing people when he shouldn't have.
And speaking of Kiefer Sutherland, like sort of as the audience proxy, you just watch the way he reacts to Billy throughout the entire movie. So there's the scene where they hole up at that saloon, and there's a bounty hunter that Billy goes and fucks with. Like, oh, who are you looking for? What's he look like? Huh? Yeah. If you watch the way Doc is reacting to Billy, he's so frightened of him at that point. He says, okay, yep, whatever you say, Bill. Yeah, all right, man. Like, they're all just trying to hold it together at that point.
Yeah, because at that point, they've already been through the ringer. They're very close to the end of their sort of adventure. And he's just, this carries through to Young Guns too, by the way. This idea that they're doing all they can to put up with this loose cannon of a gang leader, essentially. And you're right. Sutherland plays it awesome because he's just like, yeah, because he ends up killing this bounty hunter, and he says, "What does that make it? About 10?" And he's like, "Yeah, whatever you say, Billy.
Yeah,
whatever you say."
Right, so it was 5. And let's call it 10. Okay, yes, it's 10.
Okay,
whatever you say, Bill.
It's a nice antidote to what I think you would normally get in a movie like this, where they're all bonded, they're all pals, and they're all like one for all for one. These guys actively, at a minimum, they don't like Billy. At maximum, they're afraid of him and what he's capable of. And that, I think, is a very interesting tack in this movie that I think makes it a little unique, I think. It's one of the things I really like about it.
And I know we're going to keep talking about Young Guns too, but they went ahead and made that movie, and they made it so good. And I sort of said it already, but the beginning of that film, if you haven't seen Young Guns, when they're getting the band back together, he's rescuing Chavez and he's rescuing Scurlock, and they're going to go out and have more adventures and everything. Like, the way they're acting towards one another is so standoffish, and it should be like a rousing Western moment. But you watch this movie and you go, yeah, that's like the last thing you would want, is to be back with this fucking crazy man. And now he's even more famous and he's even more untouchable.
All Doc wanted to be was a school teacher in Young Guns too. He was happy. He was married. He was doing his thing. Now he's back in the pit, literally, with Billy, the last person on earth he wanted to be dealing with again. Again, that's Young Guns 2. We'll talk about it.
We'll get there. I know we just want to talk about it, but that's our next episode, basically.
We're talking about performances. Another pleasant surprise to me, given how his persona has evolved over time, is Charlie Sheen in it as Dick Brewer. That's the character's name. He is basically the moral center of the Regulators, and he's the leader of the Regulators. He is so upright.
He's the Gary Cooper of this movie.
He really is. He's like the old-fashioned outlaw with a sense of morals and a moral compass. And given the fact that now, people may not remember, but it wasn't that long ago. Was it 10, 15 years ago that Charlie Sheen went through his kind of nutty drug phase? Remember Tiger Blood? And he was
winning.
He went off the deep end. It's interesting to reconcile that public persona with his character here. He does a wonderful job with Dick, because he's got to be the one to try to hold the Regulators together in the face of all of this stuff happening around him, in the face of the chaos that is William Bonney. I think he does an awesome job.
I noticed that, I don't know if this were purposeful or not, but he very rarely takes that hat off, keeping the upper half of his face in shadow for most of the movie, which I think is really wise considering he's acting against his brother. And really, they do look a lot alike.
They do.
Speaking of them looking like things, there's a scene late in the movie where Billy is having a bath and he's dictating a letter to Doc, to the governor, to basically kiss my ass, where Emilio Estevez looks so much like Martin Sheen that I thought I was watching Apocalypse Now.
It's being that when he's coming up out of the water at the end.
No, just in general.
I always thought he did resemble him. Some of the roles, I mean, it's hard to say that he looked like Martin Sheen and Repo Man, but yeah, for sure, there's definitely a resemblance there. But they're all, I mean, I'm singling out Charlie Sheen this and Emilio Estevez that, but they all do wonderful work. Dermot Mulroney, who kind of became a rom-com lead later in his career, he's totally unrecognizable as Dirty Steve. He's a really, you can just smell him off the screen. He just seems like this filthy, dirty, he's always got tobacco in his mouth and his teeth are all gross and he's got a great accent. He's awesome too. The Regulators themselves, to a man, are fantastic.
Yeah, the Dirty Steve Stevens character was my favorite when I first saw the movie, just because he looks so authentic. Because as you said, you can smell him through the screen. You know that the Old West was peopled mainly by that guy. Just lunatics out there trying to forge a life in the fucking wilderness. Yes, that was my favorite performance when I saw it as a kid. Favorite performance now, Casey Siemaszko as Charlie Beaudry. He is so sweet from moment one. That's the regulator who just wants to do the right thing. And he's the tiny man who can kick your ass. And he gets a fucking romance in it. Come on, man.
And for me, he's the most heartbreaking member of the Regulators because by the end, they're holed up in Alex's house. They're surrounded, and he freaks out, basically. They're getting shot at by every direction. He's already talked at length about how afraid he is of getting hanged. So what essentially, he just basically has a break. He just goes nuts. And it's heartbreaking to see this guy who's held it together, tried to hold it together through all of the bad shit that Billy leads them through. And then to see this, because the end is coming for him. I mean, there's very little chance they're going to make it out of there alive. And you want him to, because he is so sweet. And like you said, he had just gotten married in Mexico, and he plays it beautifully. Casey Siemaszko is awesome. He's so underrated. I liked him ever since, I think you talked about this in other podcasts, 3 O'Clock High. He's so good.
Absolutely. And lest we forget, he's also 3D, a member of Biff's gang in Back to the Future.
That's true. He was only in the first one, though, right? He wasn't in the second and third one, or was he?
No, he's in the second.
Is he? There were certain members of the gang that didn't make it into the second.
No, in the second one, because they had old age him. He's got the leather sap.
Yeah. We could do this the easy way or the hard way.
Where did Casey Siemaszko go? I fucking love him, man. Everything he was in, I liked.
I don't know. That's a good question, because he really did seem to be carving out quite a career. He was the lead in 3 O'Clock High. I mean,
he was the lead. He's a fucking character actor. He led that movie. The other thing I like about Casey Siemaszko, his sister Nina Siemaszko.
Oh, I knew her from Airheads. Very good looking.
Airheads and...
What?
It was the sequel to the fucking Mickey Rourke movie. That horrible fucking... The one where he went to Rio. When he fell off, man. When he came back all puffy and fucking... and bloated for the first time, and he did that sex movie, and he ended up with the girl he made the movie with, so all this on-screen fucking is real fucking.
Oh yeah, you mean, was that Wild Orchid?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So there was a sequel to Wild Orchid called Wild Orchid 2, Two Shades of Blue, starring Nina Siemaszko.
I'm looking at Casey Siemaszko's IMDb.
Is he okay? Tell me he's okay.
The last performance I have is he was a voice in the video game Red Dead Redemption 2.
Wonderful. Love that game.
But that's a landmark. I love that game. But the last actual live acting role was a TV series called Billions. He hasn't really acted since 2016, which I'm surprised by. I don't know what.
Well, he's great in this movie.
He's fantastic. He's great in everything he's in, but he is. What did I write down here? I wrote that the character was where is it here? Blah, blah, blah. He's one of the more affable members of the group. He's the one also, lest we forget, they sampled him extensively in Warren G's Regulators. And isn't it his speech that kicks off the whole song?
Indeed it is. One who taught me as a young man what a pugilist was.
I wanted to see more of that, though. There's only that one scene where he beats the crap out of the guy.
You needed more pugilism from him? Come on, man. That was a fucking good scene. Plus, there was not going to be any more pugilism past that. Everyone was shooting at each other.
Yeah, but if you can get Chavez twirling knives around in every single scene, you can have him doing a little bit of a rope-a-dope, kicking butt.
Just like shadow boxing? He's just like punching walls and shit?
Maybe he could get into a tussle with Billy.
Let's talk about Buckshot Roberts for a second. Buckshot Roberts is a fucking weird historical character to begin with. And then we get Brian Keith. Shows up for one scene. It's one of my favorite scenes. The moment where he shows up and they're looking for him. Like, he's wanted by them. He shows up and says, no, I'm not with those fuckers anymore. But I understand that you're all wanted, so I'm here for you. Let's dance. He says, let's dance, and then starts shooting. It's great.
He's totally fearless. It's funny because I was watching that awful credit sequence and his name scrolled by and I went, Brian Keith, the Brian Keith, who the fuck did he play in this? I totally forgot that he was that absolutely batshit bounty hunter, because he only shows up in that one scene and he's so blasé about the prospect of taking them in. You get the sense that he's seen everything. He's done everything. He doesn't give a shit about these, like these pipsqueaks. He's just it's just another day in the office for him. And it's he only appears in it really very briefly. He pulls out his gun and starts shooting, and then he basically hides in the outhouse. So you don't see him anymore, but he still kills.
We don't know what happens to him. It's great.
Yeah. He's such a great, just sort of out of nowhere kind of whirlwind that blows into their path. Yeah, it's great.
This is how engrossing this fucking screenplay was. A fucking chaos agent shows up, fucks shit up, kills one of our main characters, and then we just forget all about him. Like, we don't even care what happens to him because we're so swept up in the rest of it.
Yeah, he's awesome. Brian Keith was great in this too. I mean, everybody, again, the performances themselves are by and large great. The only one that I thought was a little bit odd was the guy who played Pat Garrett. It might have been just the actor wasn't quite right. I know he's John Wayne's son. Was it Patrick Wayne?
Patrick Wayne, yeah. Here's the problem with Patrick Wayne that I think you might have. You saw Young Guns 2 first. And how are you going to compete with William fucking Peterson? Are you kidding me? Look, Patrick Wayne is fine here because the character is not a character. They included Pat Garrett here just as a foreshadowing for those in the know. Like, really, his character delivers he delivers a piece of information at the end, which may or may not be a trap that he's laying for them. But the earlier scene, because he's only in the 2 scenes, is just hey, look, well, these two might be friends. They might be enemies. Who knows? We'll see. And if there was never going to be a Young Guns 2, then it would have been just a nice bit of foreshadowing. So he does fine within the parameters of he has to show up, say, hi, I'm Pat Garrett, and later say, hey, kid, they're really coming for you. You got to get out of here.
That's fair. That's fair. I guess
I wasn't going to trust Patrick Wayne to handle the moral complexity of whether or not he can accept money and hunt down his former friend, but get a better life for him and his family. William Peterson was needed.
Yeah, that's a great point. He really wasn't a character. He was kind of, in a way, not an Easter egg, but he was there as an interesting foible for someone who knows that they have a history, Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. And it's also interesting. I assumed that he was laying a trap for the gang, but you're saying it's up for debate whether he knew that they were going to get the drop on them when they went to go help out Alex.
Yeah. I'm saying, did he come there as friend or foe? Like, did he come there to let them know that's happening so that they would go there to be captured? Or was it potentially like, look, you got to go now to get your friends because they're not there yet? They say it during the blockade moment. They're like, I probably set us here as a trap, but who knows? You don't know.
I don't know.
I got to come back to the music for a second. James Horner was the original composer on this film, turned in a score that was rejected and then replaced with this one. How can this be?
Crazy. I wonder if that's that score.
Can we find that? Is that available?
It's quoted as saying it was an electronic score.
Oh.
So I don't know what that means, if that would necessarily be a better thing than what we got, because I wanted your classic sweeping orchestral score like the one we got with Young Guns 2. Who knows if it would, it certainly couldn't be much worse than what we got, because what we got is very dated and kind of is at odds with the movie, I think, in a lot of ways.
They could have had Tangerine Dream. That was the only acceptable electronic version of a score that they could have had for this movie. Other than that, call Alan Silvestri, God damn it. Anyway, we'll get to Young Guns 2.
Prior to watching it for this episode, Father Malone, when's the last time you saw Young Guns, the first one?
It's been about 10 or 15 years, yeah.
So similar to me, was there anything that surprised you, having not seen it for that long? Something you didn't remember or thought, hey, this is actually better than I remembered?
Well, as I said, sort of focusing in on Doc Scurlock's journey here this time, I thought was very rewarding, as was, not that it hasn't been before, but Emilio Estevez's performance is fucking out of hand here, man. He's so good. I've already praised it, and I'm going to praise it again for the exact same reason. Billy's a fucking psychopath, and he just keeps making life worse for them. But at any time, you don't want to tangle with him. And the fact that there are moments where you actually want to follow him because Emilio Estevez is the one doing the crazy things. It's like, well, he did do that crazy thing, but he seems okay. It's kind of a marvel to me.
By the way, did you know that there was another outsider in this movie?
Yeah, I know Tom Cruise is in the final scene, uncredited.
Yeah, well, talk about it.
Yeah, well, during the sort of final big battle, by the way, Murphy eventually died a few months later from cancer, right?
I read that, yeah.
Yeah, not shot between the eyes by Billy the Kid with a quippy one-liner.
Well, and that is, but can I just say, that is a terrible on-screen death because he shot, like, the direction of it made no sense because Billy and Doc and Chavez escape, right? And Billy comes back in order to shoot Murphy right between the eyes, but he shoots him. But Jack Palance doesn't just fall dead as you would expect him to. He turns toward the camera with an anguished look on his face, like this. If you're shot between the eyes, I'm sorry, you're just gonna fall. You're dead. No more brain. Like that bugged me when I saw this again. I'd forgotten that part. That really annoyed me.
It's Jack Palance. He was in Shane. He can do what he wants.
What did you think of Jack Palance in this?
He's terrible. I'm sorry. I love.
He's bad.
And I am a Jack Palance fan. Don't get me wrong. The accent is slippery, and I don't know. He's just, I don't know. I feel bad criticizing him, but he's an effective amount of creepy, but he doesn't seem like some sort of tactician fighting a war with these people. He just seems like a brute.
Agreed. But my issue with Jack Palance, I think later in life, he had a tendency to hiss a lot in his acting. Like, I'm thinking of him
or not.
I can't help thinking of him in Tango and Cash, which is probably the worst performance of his career, granted. But yeah, there wasn't a lot of nuance with Jack Palance as Murphy, and maybe that's by design. But I guess, look, if it's a Western and you've got Jack Palance and he's willing to do your movie, you don't hire Jack Palance to be in your movie. But still, I didn't love the performance. I found it a little bit cartoonish.
Agreed. Could have been better. I mean, they needed some better villains here, perchance, considering on the good side, we not only had Terrence Stamp, but we've also got Terry O'Quinn, who just radiates decency. Even as a villain, even as the worst villain, even as a smoke monster, he just radiates decency.
Yeah, I love Terry O'Quinn.
Remember him as Howard Hughes?
Oh, in The Rocketeer.
Yeah, man. He made Howard Hughes decent.
That might be my favorite sequence in The Rocketeer, too, when he shows him the movie, the propaganda movie that the Germans made, where there's armies of Rocketeers flying through the air.
Speaking of favorite moments featuring Howard Hughes, remember Tucker with fucking the boy with the green hair?
You got me. Sorry.
Candy-colored clown. Come on, man.
I don't remember. It's been forever.
Tony, hey, Tony, no phony baloney. Tony the Tiger.
Killing me here.
So I can name every character the man has played, and his name escapes me.
You know who's in Tucker? Miss Nina Siemaszko's in Tucker.
Oh my God. All signs point to Siemaszko.
As is, of course, Christian Slater, who we would see in
Arkansas Beirut.
Dean Stockwell. How could I forget Dean Stockwell?
Yes, Dean Stockwell. They call it the Spruce Goose. That funny to you?
What was his character's name in that Quantum Leap?
Iggy?
No, he wasn't Iggy, the one that...
I didn't watch that fucking show, man.
I loved it. I watched that. I'm not ashamed to say it. I watched it.
I bet you did.
It had one of the most depressing finales of all time.
Didn't he meet God or something?
No, there was a final text crawl that said that he never ever found his way back. He just kept.
Oh, that's a fuck you to the network. That's what that is.
Right.
Those are our favorite Howard Hughes performances. What about Melvin and Howard with Jason Robards as Howard Hughes? We can keep going. There have been others.
Right.
Fucking Leonardo DiCaprio did a version of him. Speaking of, okay, you know what? Here is something I want to talk about, because the performances of, or portrayals of Billy the Kid through the years, because there have been some big ones.
Okay.
Including a movie I had fully fucking intended on bagging on right now, but now it's tempered because the fucking lead just died and we both love him and everyone listening loves him because we've just lost Mr. Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer played Billy the Kid in Gore Vidal's Billy the Kid, which is a TV movie. And it's an interesting performance in a really bad movie. Gore Vidal thought he understood Billy the Kid in ways others hadn't and thought he had uncovered facts that he didn't. And his version is really terrible. And that's a terrible movie. And Val Kilmer has chosen that one of the facts Vidal sort of harps on is that Billy the Kid had like kind of a high nasally voice. So, of course, Mr. Method goes for that, making an unlikable character even more unlikable. Imagine if Nicolas Cage's character from Peggy Sue Got Married was like very unwashed and not very nice.
That's what Val Kilmer was going for in that movie?
He was going for something, man. So that is one of the performances of Billy the Kid. It's at least worth checking out. I mean, if you're a completist, now's the time to do that. And we're going to be talking about Val Kilmer and other projects. In fact, we're going to be talking about a John Fusco movie that is a very good movie and features a great performance by Val Kilmer. So we will give Mr. Kilmer his due. It's not with Billy the Kid, nor is it with Chris Christopherson, who's got this somnambulant performance in Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. This sort of like aloof rock star kind of fucking performance. Not even a rock star, like a fucking folk star performance as Billy the Kid. It is, I don't want to say it's terrible, but it's very unwatchable. Oh, Dirty Little Billy. Ever see that one?
No, I haven't seen any of these, but you're making them sound good.
Oh, well, no, they're all worth a look. I'm just saying, as portrayals of Billy the Kid or performances of Billy the Kid, they leave a lot to be desired. The only one that is really good is from just a couple of years ago. It's from a movie called The Kid, directed by Vincent D'Onofrio and co-written by Vincent D'Onofrio, starring Ethan Hawke as Pat Garrett and Dane DeHaan as William Bonney, Billy the Kid. Dane DeHaan's performance as Billy the Kid is really fucking good. I think that performance might be the closest to who that guy actually is. I think that might actually be Billy the Kid. I think Vincent D'Onofrio and Dane DeHaan somehow captured what the guy might actually have been like. I think in seeing the guy's context of these events, I think the Young Guns movies are the perfect movies for that. But as a character study, you're not going to do better than The Kid.
I knew that Vincent D'Onofrio had done some writing and directing, but I've never heard of that. I'll have to chase that one up as well.
There, that's all I got for Billy the Kid. That's Billy the Kid moment, everybody. My favorite Billy the Kid performances. Oh, you know what? Was it Billy the Kid or was it?
No, you're forgetting one Billy the Kid performance, Father Malone. Maybe you said that was the greatest Billy the Kid performance. I'm going to push back on that because there's a certain actor by the name of Dan Shore. You might know him from Tron.
From Tron, yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right. I forgot Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
That's right. He is like he's great. He's Billy the Kid. He says bogus a lot. He befriends Aristotle. What's not to like about Billy the Kid and Bill and Ted?
Well, he also unfolds his own wanted poster to like show off to chicks.
That's great. I mean, look, we're being silly with this here, but it was a nice touch to have someone like Billy the Kid be amongst the assemblage that Bill and Ted brought back for their history paper.
I would like to have seen what Emilio Estevez would have been like. This came out the same year. That would have been an interesting crossover movie.
That would have been really cool. But yeah, no, ultimately, there were some things that I remembered that I didn't like, some things that I forgot that I actually really liked. So I don't know. I was glad to have seen it again, but again, we've harped on this more than we probably should, but Young Guns 2 is the superior movie, and we will talk about it one day, but it's just more epic, more grand. The music's better. There's some interesting actors that are brought in.
But as a foundation for that film, though, I will tell everyone to watch this. know that we know that the music sucks and the direction is workmanlike at best. There's one pretty great shot, but even it is done clumsily. It's during New Year's Eve. It's a crane shot slowly tracking backwards, like pulling the street as everyone's shooting their guns off and stuff. It's pretty. I just noted, that's all. There. I didn't want to be totally negative to the director, but the rest of it is terribly directed. But also, the performances across the board are really good here. The script is really good. So watch this movie, if for nothing else, Kiefer Sutherland's performance, just to watch where Doc Scurlock starts from in Young Guns 2. Because Billy is Billy, no matter what. You don't need a primer for where to know who Billy the Kid is at the start of Young Guns 2. You get everything just from the opening scene and Emilio Estevez's performance. I think for the character of Scurlock, you're not going to do yourself any disservice watching this movie.
It can only enrich the experience of watching Young Guns 2, but I stand by the fact that Estevez himself said that they wanted to make they weren't entirely happy with Young Guns 1. They set out to make a better movie, and by God, they made a better movie. Doesn't mean that Young Guns 1 is a terrible movie. It's well worth your time to see it. It's not as good as the sequel. It's just a fact.
HP, before we go, I want to point out one other thing I noticed for the first time. When they're in the throes of their peyote trip, Dermot Mulroney, as Dirty Steve, keeps yelling about, you see the size of that chicken?
That chicken? Yeah.
In the scene that follows, when they're no longer on the acid trip, if you'll notice, Dermot Mulroney walks into a scene eating a drumstick the size of his head. So he found that chicken.
I never put that together, but you're absolutely right.
All right.
That guy.
On the next, the next version of this, we're following along. We're just doing the next movie. The next movie is Young Guns 2. So here at Fusco Fest, I don't know, we don't even have a name for this yet, but I guess we're going to have to call it something because this is its own dedicated thing here on Midnight Viewing now. So I hope you like Westerns because we're going to get a lot of those, and we're going to get a trip to Loch Ness. Have you seen that one yet?
No.
Buckle up, baby. Ted Danson. I watched it last night. I loved it.
Cool. I've never seen it.
But until then, HP, where can people find you?
When I'm not watching John Fusco movies, you can find me elsewhere on the Weirding Way Network. As Father Malone said, I co-host the Night Mr. Walters Taxi podcast with Father Malone. I also host the Noise Junkies music podcast. I am an occasional guest on the Culture Cast with Chris Dashew. And last but not least, I have a Bandcamp site, hpmusicplace.bandcamp.com. Please check it out. And that's where you can find me.
As for me, you're here right now. You're on the Midnight Viewing Show. Mondays is Father Malone's weekly roundup, where young Ripley Jean, my pug, and I review the latest new release type stuff. And here each week we do retrospectives, alternating obviously between this and Tales from the Dark Side that we do with Mike White and Chris Dashew from Projection Booth and Culture Cast, respectively. If you want to support us financially here on the show, go to patreon.com/Father Malone. Subscribers get episodes early, commercial free, and you get bonus series, including one that HP and I do called Cable Box Theater, where we look at filmed theatrical productions that aired on cable television in the early 1980s. Take us away, Casey Siemaszko. We miss you.
Regulators. We regulate any stealing of his property. We're damn good, too. But you can't be any geek off the street. Gotta be handy with the steel, if you know what I mean. Earn your keep.
Regulators! Mount up!
It was a clear black night, a clear white moon. Warren G was on the streets, trying to consume some skirts for the eve, so I could get some fun.
Have you ever wanted to dive deeper into the horror movies you love? Beyond the Blood is a horror podcast for fans who want more than just surface level screams. We do deep dives into the movies that shaped us, digging into director commentaries, behind the scenes stories, deleted scenes, and the special features that most people skip. Each episode is a love letter to the genre. We break down how these films were made, the creative risks that paid off or didn't, and the lasting impact they've had on the genre as a whole. From 70s slashers to modern nightmares, we celebrate the craft, chaos, and characters that keep us coming back. If you're the kind of fan who rewatches movies with the commentary on, or you simply grew up in the video store horror aisle, the Beyond the Blood podcast was made for you. New episodes every single week. Subscribe, and let's dig deep. Welcome to the Beyond the Blood podcast.